I don't drive with shoes on because of the way the angle is of the foot pedal and the way the seat is. I don't drive with shoes on.
Okay.
Just, it's weird. It messes your hip up.
Really? I didn't know that. Is that typical for cabover drivers to not drive with shoes?
I don't know. That's just me.
Might just be you.
Might just me. I'm a sock guy. What do they call them? Sock drivers? So I don't know. But
what's going on, truck drivers? It's Hayden from Big Rig Tees. Welcome to another episode. Here on Big Rig Tees YouTube channel, we dive deeper into the lives of truckers and we dive deep into the industry. And we're here at the Mid-America Trucking Show in 2024. So I want to introduce you guys to my friend Roger. He's going to walk us around some cabovers. He's going to talk about a little bit of the history of cabovers and why he chooses to drive one every single day rather than a conventional semi-truck. Obviously, you didn't bring your cab over here. It's out working. You're changing engines and transmissions, and you're keeping that thing working. You don't got time to polish it up and bring it to a show. So, but let's look at some real pretty ones, and let's talk a little bit about cabovers. And so, talk a little bit about your start in trucking and what got you to be a truck driver in the first place.
All right. So we got a family history of trucking. Grandfather started back in the 50s and trucked up until 2001. Retired, then did it again. I got into being a mechanic when I was about 14 years old, almost 40 now. Quit a couple years ago, bought a Cabover, did all the work to it in my backyard, behind my garage, no shop whatsoever. I worked on it outside, cold. It was, oh gosh, it was probably 20 degrees outside, if not colder. Got it working, and in March of 21, went and got my own stuff, my own authority, and went trucking after that. All in a 1983 K100 pulling a 48-foot flatbed, and I live in it. And it's all old school. There's no air conditioning in it, no microwave, no inverter. Just do it the old school way, the way our grandparents and great-grandparents did it. Somebody could go buy a brand new truck, hop in it, make that payment. But to me, it takes a true person and a true truck driver to take something old such as this truck here, to paint it, live it, and live the American dream of owning a truck, driving a truck, fixing a truck. But the knowledge of knowing how to work on it, fix it, etc. The reason they come about was, if I remember right, it was kingpin law or bridge law to make the truck shorter rather than longer. And then I believe it was in the 70s or 80s they went through and they got away from that. That's when they went from 48-foot trailers to 53-foot trailers, because it was all about bridge law back in the day. So therefore they had to make the hood disappear on the front of the truck to make the truck shorter. And this thing was probably new. The wheels were probably up against the fuel tank to do a bridge law. Cabover engine, or COE is what they're called. Your engine is under your truck. I mean, you literally sit on top of your steer axle and on top of your engine.
Right.
You literally sit on top of it. So you're going to, compared to a conventional such as this, you're going to feel the heat in the summer. When you're sleeping, it's going to rattle you more in the night if you leave the truck running. And it doesn't, the inside of that cab doesn't cool down as fast as what a conventional does.
Right.
And to work on them is a whole different story. To even get in there, if you're a skinny guy, unlike me, you can just wiggle yourself in there to get to the top of it. But any other time, you've got to jack this cab up every time. I did it yesterday. I had to swing a transmission of mine. And it was to get in it, to figure something else out inside, and then to go back underneath to make sure it was right. You had to jack the cab up several times to get to it. You see mine, I have a shorter sleeper. I have, it's 48, but it's a shorter sleeper. Compared to this is a 110 inch. Right. All the manufacturers made it. So, whether it was a Peterbilt, Kenworth, International, I don't know if Autocar made one, but Marmon was big in them. Same design, it was all a Cabover engine. And the older ones, they had what they called the bull noses. So they had a hump on the very front of it. So your windshield's here and they had a hump on the front of it. Well, that hump would come up at times on certain trucks. But then they went to a complete flat. Mine is a 200-inch factory frame. Very, very rare. And then they had the different suspensions to where this suspension here is an 8-bag. This is for Kenworth itself. This was very popular with the 8-bag suspension. This was the AG100. They have different varieties.
You're a guy that drives a cabover every single day, and I've interviewed other guys that have cabovers. He was able to explain to me a little bit about what it's actually like driving one and how it is different from a conventional. And
the big thing between a cabover and a conventional is obviously you don't have a hood. So as the old saying is, you're the first person to the scene of the crash.
Right.
So again, you sit right over top that steer tire, so you feel every bump going down the road. If you're what I call the gauntlet of I-70 from Indianapolis to Ohio line, you feel every bump and everything inside is going to get rearranged. The way the view is, unlike a hood, you see right over and you can see everything right in front of you.
Right.
Now, the only downfall about these is because these cabs are so wide compared to a conventional, you can't see on that passenger side as well.
Okay.
So a lot of guys will have a spot mirror on the one side up here. You get in the bunk, I mean, you can't stand up in these to put your pants on.
Right.
I mean, you got to lay down and get your pants on. It stinks. So, but I mean, you step on the seat, crawl in the doghouse, and then crawl in the bunk. You know, it's that simple. And then to get out, like I said, mine, you know, my sleeper stops right here.
Right.
That's where my sleeper stops.
Wow.
It's short. It's just wide enough for me to go like this.
Holy cow.
That's how small my sleeper is. The curtain up inside, it rolls up, unlike your newer ones where they separate. This one rolls up. So you roll it up, button it, put your legs out on top of the doghouse, and grab a hold of the seat and twist and turn out.
Wow.
Like I said, I'm not a little guy by no means.
Right.
So it's a chore. You don't have a whole lot of leg room. I mean, there's your firewall. You know, you don't have a lot of leg room. You can't stretch out. So what I normally do is I'll take my foot and rest it here on the brake pedal and go and put my foot all the way up against the firewall, and that's the only way you can relax. I don't drive with shoes on because of the way the angle is of the foot pedal and the way the seat is. I don't drive with shoes on.
Okay.
Just, it's weird. It messes your hip up.
Really? I didn't know that. Is that typical for Cabover drivers to not drive with shoes?
I don't know. That's just me.
Might just be you.
Might just me. I'm a sock guy. What they call them, sock drivers. So I don't know. But
when it comes to regulations, e-logs, and all that stuff in general about the way that the industry's changed, share a little bit of your thoughts and opinions on it and how it's affected you in your trucking journey.
So with having this open truck, there's no computer in it, so you can't do e-logs, which to me e-logs itself is it's a detriment to the trucking industry. They said it makes it safer. It does to a point. To me, it makes guys speed. You know, because they have that 11 hours and they know they have to beat that time. You know, if they're tired, they can't stop and take a nap. To where, you know, with running paper logs, yes, you're still on that you still have the same set of rules, but you don't always, you know, you might be able to fudge it here and there to where having e-log, you can't fudge that e-log. You know, it is, you know, completely, that's what you have to abide by. And the other thing that with these older trucks is you don't have DEF. You know, you don't have the emissions, you don't have DEF.
Right.
To where you don't have the breakdowns of what the newer trucks do. So you start, you know, losing power, you can keep chugging along to get to where you have to go, to where some of these newer trucks, not all, but some, as soon as the sensor goes out, you're on the side of the road and you're done. The sensors in the DEF tanks, you know, you couldn't get the sensors in the DEF tank from PACCAR. They were on backward. But we had so many trucks down in the oil field that I tore one apart and figured out what was wrong with it, took alcohol, cleaned everything, and put it back together, and figured out that that's what was wrong. It was so crystallized inside that sensor. But that's the difference between a guy that's a parts changer and not. And then again with old school and not, to where a new school guy, oh, it just needs this, we'll just replace it.
Yeah.
To where an older guy that has been at it a while, knows what's wrong, knows that you've got 10 trucks down because of the emissions. How do you get it back up? If sensor goes out, you're done on the side of the road, because not everybody's going to carry a computer with them.
Right.
You know, they're not going to carry a computer to figure out what's wrong. Most guys don't even know how to operate a computer.
Right.
So, thank you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Later, buddy.